Okay. Anyway, speaking of lines that were in the movie, what was it? The second chapter or whatever it was had almost every important line that is in the movies, and at least in the first movies, smushed in just one chapter. Like we'll go over that when we go over that.
Yeah.
But I was shocked how many of those lines were in just one chapter. But anyway, we'll talk about that in chapter 2.
This is going to be hard to compare to the movie because
Nice.
it's been so long.
What did you guys think? How did you guys like the first 4 chapters?
I
Loved it. Really?
Yeah, I really did.
thought it was really good too.
Really?
I was surprised.
I skipped the prologue, like Danny
But I still
said.
don't know if that was the right call. But when I
Whatever.
started reading the prologue, I was a little bit confused and
Then I would have been really
cautious because I just didn't want you to get caught up in it and not enjoy it. Where I'm thinking
I think that was a smart move.
story
Yeah.
first. I want you to get connected with some of these characters and care what they're going through. And the prologue felt like it interrupted that. And it's good for people who already read The Hobbit and they want to know, well, how does this relate to that? But if you didn't read
Because
The Hobbit, and that's not
is
important.
first.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, he wrote it first and then there was a big gap and then
No, actually.
this all came afterwards. That was kind of what I was thinking. At least that's what the story is. So yeah. Lizzie?
I read the prologue first, but I kind of approached it like, don't get stressed out by it. And if
Nice.
I
Okay,
need
good,
to go
good.
back to it to reference something, I will. But yeah, it was just like really information heavy and like a lot of extra stuff.
It was just details on hobbits, where they come from.
Yeah.
And then there was
It
like,
was like a
a few
history.
pages on pipeweed.
Oh yeah, that was kind of funny
Why do
too. I was
need
like,
this?
whoa.
It was kind of cool.
I
I'm
like that. I was like, oh, okay.
Wait,
Little
like
break.
smoking a pipe?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's their,
pages
it's their
on it.
little, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I'm
guess
glad
it's
that
on
he
drugs.
And yes, at some point we're gonna have to get a pipe in here for an episode
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
pod.
clearly. Yep. Absolutely.
Some long bottom leaf. Do you want more than one or just one of these cookies?
Well,
Should I just
every
leave it over
time
here?
I say one, and then I'm like,
I'm gonna
I
leave
want
it over
another
here.
one.
You're good.
Oh my gosh, not right next to me.
I went straight into it doing the same technique of just writing all up in the margins.
Yeah, I just love that.
And smaller margins, but I made it work. So I'm just gonna see what I wrote in. I was so excited they had a map.
Yeah, same.
Instantly, I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's part of what I think is going to make this book, this world feel bigger.
Yeah.
And I don't know did we conclude what high fantasy really means? I don't know if we did, but to me,
yeah.
that's like a mark of high fantasy. When there's
yeah,
a map, I'm like, oh, this is a complex world. You're not just making
And it
things
can't
up.
just be like a
What did
singular
your
map of
other
like one
sentence
location.
What? I love that there are maps. JK didn't have any, but it's helpful and adds to the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even when I was listening to it, someone was like, "Do you have a map in front of you?" Because it's kind of fun to follow, especially the concerning hobbits chapter. It's fun to have a map in front of you when you're reading that chapter because they show locations for where they were, all sorts of crazy stuff. And it was fun. Like they made mention of a bunch of random things in this that I like Googled real quick when I was doing it, and like the one dragon that they mentioned, I forgot where they mentioned that, but there's so much cool information about that. And I was talking to other people when they were like listening to it with me, and the dragon is like the size of a mountain. It is, I think, one of the biggest dragons in fantasy lore ever. Like they talk about the House of the dragons, and they're like, this one is like literally 100 times that size. And then they said Elrond's father defeated that thing single-handedly with like the help of some eagles, but he like single-handedly beat that thing. I'm like,
That's
I want to
crazy.
see that.
That is
Yeah, bring that to
nuts.
film.
Now we're sad about that because the dragons can actually destroy rings.
Yeah, I know. Seriously,
Right?
Good catch.
I know that
Ken.
was a great catch.
Well, they weren't
So many
sure,
questions about
right?
that.
Because I was like, that's pretty intense. But I think it said something that took that option away, or it was like Gandalf was like,
there's no dragons left. I think.
yeah, no dragons left.
Yeah.
But then I thought he even said, but even if there were, I don't think that would work for this ring.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I think
'Cause it's the
maybe it
one
said
ring.
that, but wait, but Lizzie, how do you like it? Prologue aside or included?
It's not like incredible to me so far. I'm
Okay.
not like super hyped, but
You're reading like
no, I listened to this
Oh.
Because
Well, that's the same to me.
convenience.
No, it is. I know, but I was entertained by it, so I was just
Yeah.
curious
Yeah.
if the
Well,
voices helped or not.
You're doing the same one I am, which is the
Yeah,
Andy Serkis one.
Yeah, I
She's
have
doing
somebody else.
the library, the old guy from the
Why
library.
would you
Oh,
do
nice.
that to
No,
yourself?
well, I'm trying to read it. I just needed to audiobook it this week. But
Yeah,
he's
but use
fine.
a good one.
You don't even know the other one.
I just if John's saying that, I'm like,
Yeah.
if it's like Goldfinch, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're one of those people that likes like
There-
a dull reader.
There is a well,
Okay.
That was
I gotta-
attacking. But because it is easier for
didn't
it
mean
leaves
it
room
like
for
that.
your own imagination, you know?
Nemo, for who's like our Lord of the Rings expert, as I mentioned before, he said that there's the best one is this person who did it independently online, who like incorporates the music from the movies into it.
Ooh, that's a
And so I
good
actually want to
idea.
check that one out too. Maybe I'll listen to that for some of the chapters. So Nemo, whenever you have that, send it to me because I would love that one.
I didn't
But
mean
anyway.
that as an insult. I
I would just prefer to read it anyway so that I can make it up in my own mind and like have my own imagination.
Yeah, right.
yeah, I'm not that creative.
Yeah.
Although there are
Yeah,
a lot
you
of names that it would be nice to hear with authority, like how to pronounce
Yeah.
them. Because I might be making things up wrong, or at least like names of places
I think
and
that's
stuff.
another reason why I like it. Because I don't get stuck.
Yeah,
on
true.
things.
Yeah.
True.
Just if you miss something, you just go to the next part. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I won't know anyone's names if I just keep
When we
skipping
try to talk
these
about
To
it,
know the
yeah.
main
names.
characters' names, and that's pretty much it.
The one with the E. the one
That's
with
one thing that if I came across somebody who wasn't in the movie, I'm like, oh, I guess they're not important. And then I was like, wait.
That's funny.
Hang on.
Yeah.
This is why we're reading it.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast. I'm John,
the- Jen.
Danny.
And Lizzie.
and this
forgot what
is
it
the
would've been.
Fellowship of the First Time Readers. Hey, would you give this podcast a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts? And if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, can you give it a like or give us a comment? Let us know who your favorite Lord of the Rings character is. We're going through the entire series and we're very excited about it. And we're going to do the movies interspersed with it. So if you want, follow along on our journey of the Fellowship of the First Time Readers. We're really, really appreciative of your support. If you want to follow us or email us, you can find all of that information on our Discord, which is r/first-time-readers. Sorry, not our Discord. Our Reddit, which is r/first-time-readers. You can also join our Discord, where we post lots of stuff about Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, a bunch of other nerd stuff like Star Wars, which we're doing. So we're doing a bunch of other stuff as well. Go check out our YouTube channel, which is where we live stream all these, and we just do a bunch of other stuff. The YouTube channel in the new year, which is going to be 2025, is going to be a lot more in-depth. We're going to have a lot more videos going on. We're going to kind of push into that a little bit more. So if you want some more nerd content, check that out. That is definitely for you. And then firsttimereaders@gmail.com, and you can find all the other stuff. If you really want to reach out to us in any way, go check out our Reddit, go check out our Discord or YouTube channel. You'll be able to find us anyway. Thank you so much for listening, and we're very excited about this journey of the Fellowship of the First Time Readers. So enjoy these chapters 1 to 4 of the Fellowship of the Ring. Okay, so chapter 1. Let's all do a quick summary of chapter 1. What is this chapter about? It's called
I gotta-
A Long Expected Party.
Gotta go
The
back.
111th.
Yeah. 111th birthday of Bilbo Baggins. And quiz for you, how old is Frodo in the first chapter?
33.
33.
Nice. Well done.
Only because we're right there, Lizzie.
September 22nd. is his
Nice.
birthday, right?
Love that.
There we go.
Crushing it.
That I didn't know.
I actually thought it was kind of interesting. They said in the beginning of the chapter, hobbits come of age at 33.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That was a fun little tidbit.
And it put it into perspective a little than why they look so young in the movies. Because I couldn't quite shake that view. I'm like, oh, I thought they were like teenagers.
Yeah.
Like 20 maybe. So 33 sounded old until the end of the chapter or the next one when I was like 50? He was 50 years old?
He was 50 when he said on the. That
I
was
know.
That blew my
Yeah.
mind.
Me
Another
too. I was like,
time
wow, that
thing.
was so off.
Yeah.
Just classic. I did write a note. that there were so many edits because I read the notes on the text and I was blown away by how meticulous Tolkien was in all of the words, and everything kept getting edited. But every time something was published, he would go back and change things because they would edit things that he thought were important little notes or words or letters or accents. And the amount of versions, UK and England, or UK and US, back and forth, it felt like he was spending his whole life just going between publishers and correcting
Really?
everything. It was just
love
kind
that.
of weird how much work he put into it. So much so that someone wrote a book just to keep track of all of the edits
Wow.
and the journey of that. So
I will
thought that was
say,
weird.
getting into this one, it is innumerably more detailed than anything that Rowling has ever written, or maybe not ever, but like the level of intricacy that it goes into with everything. Like there's just conversations that happen that aren't even needed, that like don't really drive the plot along, that I feel like Joe Rowling would never have done. And like, you know, she's a great writer. I think she's a good storyteller, but like this level of world building is fun to experience because it's like it's a different reading experience where I'm like more patient with the read. I'm like, okay, these things are gonna happen. I'm excited to like learn more about these characters, but even just like random things that happen throughout this whole series and like throughout the story, like conversations that characters happen don't really have any significance to like what's happening. But he's just like building side stories out, like the Sackville Bagginses wanting a like bag end. I'm like, there's no real like, you know, serious plot device here, but like they're so annoying. And then he just adds so many little comedic elements in the chapters too that I was pretty blown away by like the level of detail that he went into in this in the few these first four chapters.
Yeah,
I'm excited to go into more.
Agreed. Another thing from the foreword, J.R.R. Tolkien. Maybe I'll just keep calling him Tolkien or J.R.R. He said it's not an allegory. So I thought that was interesting too, because it felt like it freed me a little bit. I don't mind when something's an allegory, but then I feel like there's an agenda or you can predict something. So I love that he took that out of there and said any meaning you can find in here beyond the story itself is just happenstance. And then it got a little bit funny in general. And then into the prologue, lots of details. But I was into it from the start. But do you understand the first age, second age, third age?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I don't either.
No, not yet.
Maybe
I
we'll
don't
get there.
know what differentiates the ages. I don't know any of that kind of stuff. I'm curious
That's
if we're gonna
from
get
the
it. I don't
prologue.
think we're gonna get it. I think it's like understood that, or not understood. I think he's just like threw it in there. It was part of his brain. This is more like of a story, and I think the Silmarillion or whatever, however you say it, is how he divides up the ages and like the more boring history of the entire series. So maybe we'll get there. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. What notes do you guys have for chapter 1? Anything?
I just find it funny that I'm visualizing the movies while reading it, but then with so much detail, I'm able to like kind of expand on that. Like the fireworks with the dragons and stuff. I don't know, that was at the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Was that in the movies? I don't remember, but I loved how detailed it was about it.
I'm excited for when you watch the movies too, because it's gonna be fun going back and forth with them. Because there's like a small little change of two characters that they introduced during the fireworks scene in the movies that I loved. I thought it was a great introduction, and they don't introduce him here. It's just like Gandalf just has fun with the fires,
Right.
or the fireworks, not the fires.
And then I'm going to Rings of Power. See, I'm like a very visual person. So then I'm going to Rings of Power. I'm like, oh, are these those people? Like the little hobbit people?
If you do Rings of Power, you might like Concerning Hobbits because it goes into the Harfoots. It goes into some of that other stuff.
Harfoot, that's what it is.
Where they
then.
come from.
Huh. I'm not allowed to watch spoilers. I'll just watch it when you're working. No. What was the first chapter though?
It just kind of starts with party planning and it ends with Frodo getting Bag End and the ring.
I'm
So
glad that
it's
they
kind of
shrunk that for
beefy.
the movie.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I mean, I think we're going to talk a lot about movie to book changes here because, like, I know that I love the movie so much.
Yeah,
But
sorry, keep doing that.
but we're not going to leave you out. Don't worry, Jen. But the differences between Bilbo, between just hobbits in general, and between Frodo is actually kind of interesting. We'll talk about Frodo a little bit more, but Bilbo seemed a bit more. I don't know. Like I think they do a pretty good portrayal in the movies, but he almost seemed a bit more possessive of the ring. Like there's a one scene in the movies where he like gets very, very possessive of the ring and like wants to fight Gandalf, and I think they did it well. But when I was reading the book, it was like a few pages of them going back and forth between Gandalf being like, give up the ring, and Bilbo's like, no, I'm not going to do this. I want it. And he seems like a little bit more vain, I guess. I'm trying to figure out the differences, but did you guys like Bilbo as a character?
I did. I like that he's like adventurous and has gone out and like done all these things.
Yeah.
And I think it said he taught Frodo how to read and like so he could continue his story and write. So I like that he's like going out and doing big things and not just being, stuck in the Shire all the time.
Yeah.
But then obviously he finds the ring, so.
Would you guys want an 1100 what is it, an 11 birthday? You guys want to live to being 111?
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
why not?
if he's fully functioning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I was
That's
mentally
true.
there, then yes.
And I had this question too because in later chapters they talk about some of the Gollum stuff, and I think that's really interesting. But I should ask this too. Maybe someone can talk to me in this real quick about it. But how old do hobbits typically live till? I think Bilbo is exceptional in that. Did they say that anything? In the
Yeah,
chapters?
it did
I
say
know.
something like that.
That he,
I think somebody lived to be 120, and that might have been the oldest,
Huh, okay.
or something like that.
But on their own, or with the help of some.
No, like just normally.
Magic?
I forget if it was prologue or what, but somewhere it said like 100 is
someone's
a good age for a hobbit. It's like
Bilbo-
rare but not unheard of, or
Someone's
I forget
mom
what it was.
lived to the 120, I think.
Hmm.
I thought.
Yeah, that
and
could
it
be.
said like, oh, he has a long line of long livers or something like that.
Oh, in the family, like
Yeah, the Baggins family.
Mm-hmm.
But
Someone
could be
said
mistaken if-
130 was the oldest.
But they're not like youthful at that age.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Bilbo was
Right.
like still popping
Yeah.
around and excited and like, he essentially did the whole party himself, which was astounding. Like he's doing all the invitations.
I
and, like,
love that.
yeah,
well,
I
they're
love that
giving
too. There's
gifts
care.
out to people
Yeah.
instead of receiving them for
I
their
know.
birthday.
It's kind of crazy.
It's like the opposite. It's interesting.
It's really funny. But I think it was an interesting point too, because Gollum, I think they said, or people that I was talking to, they said that he was 500 to 600 years old.
What?
And so, like, the aging stops when the ring takes you. But I was curious because I'm like, Gollum lost the ring. Why didn't he not just die immediately after that? And I think it's because the ring still has a hold on you. So I think people were talking about that even with Bilbo. Like when he gives up the ring, he starts to age a little bit more, but the ring still has somewhat of a hold on him. And so that's why he's like not dying immediately or like immediately getting old and like, isn't able to walk and age
Right.
just catches up to him right away. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what do you guys think of that actually, the effect that the ring has in the person? I don't know what the ring does. I know like from the movies and everything like that, but I don't know legitimately what the ring does yet. It just seems to.
I mean, you're talking about in the first 4 chapters or just
Yeah,
in
in
this?
the first 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it. And I think one of the questions I had was, can the ring move? Can it influence anything in the physical world, or does it just impact the person? Like, and then at some point when it left Gollum, did Gollum just drop it somewhere in the cave? And it was all Gollum physically moving it? Or in the movie, I'm picturing a bounce and the ring is like twirling where it can kind of do a little more than just force its owner to drop it or forget it or something. But yeah, I don't understand its power yet.
What seems to have like a pull on people. Like it seems like it has, I don't know, in a sense, I don't know how to word it, but like a brain of a mind of its own. Because when Gollum like when Bilbo was near Gollum, the ring knew like I need to transfer to him because I'll be in this cave forever.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the
Because
things?
the ring is trying to get back
To the owner, right?
But isn't the owner?
Sauron?
Oh.
Sauron?
Isn't the owner?
Sorry.
No, because Sauron is the maker. But
Yeah.
in the movie, doesn't somebody have it on right at the beginning, and then
Yeah.
is that
We can't talk
I
about
can't
that.
speak about it? Okay, but it's trying to get back to Sauron.
It's trying to get back
Yeah.
to its maker,
Back to its
which is
maker.
Sauron.
Which is why Rings of Power was helpful to watch
Yeah.
before this, even though
Jen
he
knows
won't
a lot,
let
yeah.
me.
Well, I haven't watched that.
You
so-
should watch well, I think it's allowed.
I don't think I've seen the.
I think it
Hobbits
is.
either.
Honestly, I don't think it would interfere
The
with
first season and like the beginning of the second season just is helping me understand who the maker is of the rings and understand that
true.
concept. Otherwise, I would. But I need visuals. So
It was
maybe
interesting too because I'm the only the movies guy, and when I started watching the Rings of Power, it does help you understand who the people were who had the rings too, which is kind of fascinating. Like in the movies, you kind of understand who some of the people.
No,
are,
I had no
but you
idea about
don't?
rings.
Yeah, and that's why I'm kind of like, I'm interested in well talking about the elves and the dwarves and the.
I didn't even know
men
there
who
was
had
other
these.
rings.
Yeah,
I
Isn't it
thought
kinda
there was
cool?
just the one ring. So
It's
that's
one
One
ring
ring
to
to
rule
rule
them
them
all.
all.
I actually missed all of that stuff, that little poem, because it was so far at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was like before even the index. So then I was like, I can't have missed it. And I listened to the audiobook. I'm like, where is this coming from? And I had to look back and then I found it. I was like, ooh, that's awesome.
It was in what chapter was it in for these though? Because I think it's in the second one when
Isn't
the inscription
Gandalf?
is on the ring.
Yes.
Gandalf talks
Reads
about
the
yeah.
inscription.
But
Yep.
he doesn't fully read it.
Well, because
Yeah.
the
'Cause he
inscription
won't
is only
utter
the
the tongue.
last two lines of
the poem. Yeah,
the whole thing.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe even just the second to
But
last line.
what the ring like allows you to disappear. It
yeah,
anti-aging. You
yeah, which is kind of nice. Two
freeze
great
it,
things so far.
right?
Yep.
And then, but then it like slowly sucks your soul into the darkness.
Yeah.
It feels like, and then it's calling for its owner to find it.
Because there was a note in
Reminds
these
me.
chapters too where Gandalf was pretty shocked that the effects of the ring didn't have that much more of an effect on Bilbo.
Right.
Where he was like astounded by it. And I think this is kind of where he hatches his plot. Gandalf seems very Dumbledore-esque to me, where he's like hatching this plot behind the
So
scenes
true.
to like
I wrote Dumbledore in the margins like 4 times.
yeah. He really seems like he pieces together that okay, this ring doesn't have a huge effect on hobbits. So how am I gonna get this thing rolling? He knows Frodo's a crazy brave hobbit. Like Frodo's bravery blew me away in some of these chapters.
So true.
And then he kind of like not manipulates, I don't want to say that, but kind of manipulates him to like have the ring. Frodo's like, I love the Shire so much, I don't want to keep it in the Shire because it'll destroy the Shire, so I have to take it away. Bilbo's like, or Gandalf's like, perfect. This is exactly
Yeah,
my plan.
great answer,
You bring it
Frodo.
here and I'll meet you there. I'm going to do some research on my own.
I'll see you in 17 years.
Yeah.
Rid-
That was
Ridiculous.
crazy. I know.
Oh yeah, those.
and the
time
last
frames.
9, he didn't show up at all. At first, I thought it was that
Mm-hmm.
whole time, but then you kind of fill in the gaps. Anyways, we're not there yet, but
That was astounding to me.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I did mark something. Dwarves came to the birthday. I thought that was cool because something that wasn't in the movies. I didn't realize that
I didn't even realize
when
that.
Bilbo left, he left with the dwarves. So they came, and maybe they weren't at the birthday, but they already were at his house because they came by a separate cart before
That
Gandalf
went
did.
right over my head.
So I just thought it was cool that dwarves were there. They were staying in the house with Bilbo, and then Bilbo left with them. Something that was never mentioned. So I thought that was cool. Also,
Were they the original? Were they the dwarves he went on the
well,
journey
it
with?
never mentioned anything more. It just said a few dwarves. I think it said 3.
It's got to be them, right?
But
gotta
yeah,
be
I
like-
would think so. That's why I was hoping it would give a name of someone
Yeah.
we knew. Let's see. Dwarves with long beards and deep hoods. Outlandish folks singing strange songs. Yeah, so I just thought it was another little cool touch. Oh yeah. Where's the line? that, another one where dwarves are mentioned, that the old man helped by Bilbo and some dwarves had finished unloading. Bilbo gave a few pennies away, but not a single squib or cracker was forthcoming.
Whoa!
And I was like, squib, whoa! Because it's just funny to see it as an actual word.
Yeah.
So, nice little Harry Potter reference in there.
I also loved Bilbo's Irish exit from the party.
Yeah.
So great. Inspiring.
And not even from the party, from life.
Yeah.
He is living my ideal life right there. Just like, see you guys. I'm out.
And
So
disappears.
great.
Yeah, he just
Goes.
disappears. Oh.
It's probably too early, but him being a hobbit is like important, having the ring. I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, only
it's
Gandalf
a
mentioned that.
benefit for like good and the good versus evil.
Because it seemed like the ring was designed to corrupt people. And Gandalf worded it saying that Sauron overlooked hobbits just like everybody else.
Right.
And didn't even consider the possibility that it would end up with a hobbit. So they have a certain immunity to the evil. So them being overlooked is their superpower.
But also it's like, what is their power as a being?
Pure-hearted?
Right. So
Maybe.
that's what I'm like, if anyone else had the ring, because
Even
Gandalf
Gandalf.
is a wizard, so he's powerful, and humans, I don't know what they would be killing each other for
Yeah.
power.
Because they talked about how I think this is in the next chapter when they're having the discussions on the rings. Next chapter is Shadow of the Past, and they're having these discussions on the rings, and it seems like they talk about the elves' rings were untainted, like they were still pure and good rings. The dwarves' rings, what'd they say? 3 of them went into like the dragon, or 3 of them survived, and then 4 of them got eaten by dragons or something like
right.
that.
I think.
So, I mean, I always had the question, it's like, are those dragons super dragons now? Do they have the ring just in their belly? And do they have the powers of the ring? Because if they do, maybe they're just invisible flying around and like wreaking havoc and we just don't know.
Whoa.
And then the 9 was that corrupted the hearts of men, and those are like forever gone. But I forgot where I was going with that. Well,
Do all the rings have the same power of the One Ring, or is that?
And yeah, like
Like-
what kind of crossover power is there?
Yeah, because like for the humans who have their rings, like what does that do for them?
Right.
Like why do they all have their rings?
It seems to corrupt them, but do they also get to be invisible?
Yeah.
Are they also obsessed with their rings?
but the
there has to
primary-
be
what else?
like a reason why.
But-
Yeah.
Or I think it like even different for each type of person that gets it. Like the elves have, I don't know. What would an elf want? What would a dwarf want?
Well, it was to save their land
For the humans?
for the elves.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
in Rings of Power, though. So this is not fair, probably.
but the elves
We'll
also
probably get more detail in here. I hope.
were able to resist the power or something.
Yeah.
It seems like it helped them and it didn't corrupt them. But I don't know
they're
if it
elves, so
backfired
who
or
knows?
what. But it
I know.
seems like, I don't know the full story. It was just kind of hinting at like, they're okay. They are not evil
Tainted by
and they're
anything.
not dead.
Yeah.
They're just still elves. So hopefully we hear a little more about that. But yeah, it was weird.
And then didn't Gandalf, though, also say about the ring how it wanted to go with Bilbo, and then he was saying something about how Frodo,
Yeah.
this is your time. Like, I think this is a good thing that you found it and you're able to like resist it somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how to word it, but like it was like as if the powers shifted and he's like, oh, good is like intervening with this power of evil pulling the ring.
It's such a good point because I was reading that, and when Gandalf leaves, he doesn't fully know that it's the ring.
Right.
Even when he returns, he doesn't fully know it's the ring until they throw it in the fire. He's like, now it's now I have like perfect understand that it is.
Yep.
But I think Gandalf has a good understanding that it is the ring. So one of my questions too is with exactly what you said, like Frodo seems to be less corrupted by its power than a lot of other people. But I'm like, why don't you start the journey then? Even if this isn't the ring. Like, you know, start him on to start walking, because 17 years passes. I'm like, how does Gandalf not think that the ring could have a hold on someone over 17 years? Like, if the ring is even just chilling in like a compartment, like he doesn't even give instructions really for Frodo.
Well, he said not to wear it.
Yeah, he said not to wear it. So he has it on the chain.
He must have really trusted.
But I'm
Frodo.
like, that is some significant trust, which maybe Gandalf really knows. He
probably also
Frodo.
didn't know. How wearing it would be bad, because Bilbo has been putting it on and off for so long. So why would he think? Decent. Why would he think anything different?
That's a great point. Yeah.
But he was so fixated on the ring with Bilbo, and Bilbo's literally walking in the right direction. At least he's moving away from the Shire. He's got the ring. Why would that be so bad? And he's like, but Bilbo, you promised. And he's like really fixating on like Bilbo has to leave this ring behind.
Yeah.
And even that felt weird, because it seems to imply he already knew it was bad. It was some kind of evil.
That's what it sounded like. He was collecting information before he's visited them, though.
But he really wanted the ring to stay in the Shire before
because it was protected until Gollum gave the info that the Shire is where the ring is. So in that time period, I don't know where the timeline is, but Gandalf could have thought it was safer in the Shire at that time.
Yeah, it's great. Because he has this line when he's talking. He says, "You say the ring is dangerous, far more dangerous than I guess. In what way?" "In many ways," answered the wizard. "It is far more powerful than I ever dared to think at first. So powerful that in the end it would utterly overcome any one of the mortal race who possessed it. It would possess him." I'm like, if he thinks that, or if he like that's like even slightly in his array of like what this thing could do.
Wait, this is to Bilbo? That was to Bilbo?
Yeah, this is to Bilbo.
Oh. Or Frodo.
This is to Frodo, actually.
That's why I feel like the way he was talking about it, it felt like he didn't fully know. That it was like wanting that the darkness wanted it back, or well, I'm not sure.
And Gandalf is like, almost discovering its significance as well. Like he still knows about.
But I think they thought it was safer there.
Yeah,
but Gandalf knew about Gollum and how he got it from him too. So that's confusing to me. Like why? Like I feel like if you saw that happen to Gollum, you would immediately like warn him. And I know he does tell Frodo. I don't know like at what point in the timeline that was. But even if I'm Frodo and I know what happened to Gollum, then I feel like I would almost, like if I had that sitting in my house for 17 years, I'd be like, why did he pick it up? You know, and then I would like go pick it up and be another Gollum.
Oh my gosh,
because they knew that happened to him. So.
But did Frodo want to follow in Bilbo's footsteps?
In what way?
Anyway.
I feel like he did in a lot of ways.
He did.
I feel like he wanted an adventure like Bilbo had.
I got, and in this too, I got Frodo has almost more admiration for Bilbo than I even remembered in the movies. So I think that's a really good point. Like I think Frodo does just want to follow in the footsteps of Bilbo and like every aspect of Bilbo's life. Like even when Bilbo left, Frodo was like, "Oh, I wish I could have gone with him," that's like a remarkable thing. I think. I was very impressed by Frodo in these chapters. In the movies, he's a little annoying. Not like, super annoying, but Sam's kind of like the main character to me in the movies. And this is different. Frodo really seems like a resilient, like really pure-hearted and innocent, or not innocent, but just like loyal person. And I really love it so far. But I also love some of Sam's lines. Sam still did feel like the main character in a few of these chapters. I was like, that is, it was so good.
I was surprised that Frodo knew about the ring before he got it. So that means the ring, he knew about Bilbo's plan, knew about the ring, and was kind of like, oh, this will be useful. Cool. So that was weird to me. I guess so many of these little details were being filled in as I was reading that added a lot of depth. Even his relationship with Merry and Pippin, because we don't meet them or see them in the movies till a little later. So it was cool having them kind of pop in and out a little bit, and realizing that they were like really good friends, not just casual Hobbit acquaintances. I also was curious if Bilbo is the reason hobbits are being infected with adventurousness, because before Bilbo, it sounds like hobbits don't leave the Shire.
Yeah.
They don't talk to outsiders.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, this new generation, specifically Frodo and Sam, who's willing to just go on this adventure, drop of a hat. But even Merry and Pippin, it just feels like there's a certain adventure to them that maybe didn't exist before they grew up hearing stories from Bilbo. So I'm going to give him a little bit of credit in my headcanon.
Where was the hold on, I gotta find this too. Sorry, you guys can go on.
I also feel like I was appreciating the writing of this, because anytime I was like kind of confused about something in the next chapter or the next few paragraphs, it was like kind of explained in more detail. So any question that like I didn't have to wait that long to like, wait, I didn't catch that, and then it was explained like again differently. Especially what one with Gandalf, I think it was. But yeah.
I begin to wish that somehow I had gone too. Frodo really wanted to like go with Bilbo.
But what was Frodo like doing though? I was like, what was his life like?
What's his
like,
job? What is he doing?
It doesn't even say.
What do any hobbits do?
Like, did he have a crush on some girl in the Shire? Like, there's nothing. There's no background. Just
Yeah, that's true.
Bilbo, and I want to be like him.
Yeah.
And I guess if he wasn't even a man yet until 33. That's a lot of time to do nothing in the Shire, I guess.
But like, they don't even talk about. Well, maybe I missed it, but it didn't seem like.
Yeah.
Like, what is your daily? What does your day look like?
Yeah.
In a week.
Did we
honestly
hear any
would love
mention
that.
of money?
I think
I don't
the
remember
Baggins
any.
do seem pretty rich, and
Yeah.
Bilbo seemed to be taking care of Frodo.
Yeah,
Bilbo's
so he just didn't need to earn
inheritance.
anything.
Yeah, they're
he
just
has
a
what
rich
he
family.
needs.
I mean, we know that he went to steal mushrooms, though.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. It's the only thing we really know of his childhood,
Which is
he
really
was
funny.
deadly afraid of Farmer Maggot, and
Yeah.
then realized that he's like a pretty cool guy.
Great guy.
Yeah, that was a great little foray into it. Yeah, I actually kind of wish we got that too. I wish we got some of his day to day.
But then I was like, maybe it was in the prologue, and I didn't read it.
I don't think he was mentioned
Yeah.
in the prologue. But hobbits in general were discussed. You should go back and read it now.
Yeah, you might like it. Might
I feel like you should.
yeah.
So I feel like we're kind of
We'll
talking
see.
chapter 2.
Yeah, we're already on
Just
chapter
keep
2.
cruising
Yeah, we're
through,
just
seeing
cruising.
what it is.
Chapter
Okay.
2 is a whole. It's just like him and
Frodo
Frodo having a full discussion. There were so many great lines in that one too.
Gandalf and Frodo.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
ends
okay.
with Sam saying he'll leave the Shire with Frodo.
which is
Oh, because he was eavesdropping, right?
He wasn't dropping no eaves. His house doesn't even have eaves.
He was sheer dropping.
Nice. It did a little bit bother me. I guess I got in the high fantasy mode.
Oh,
That
why
they
did you
have
give him this term?
A Roman calendar, because I'm like, their
That's a great
dates
point,
they use
yeah.
the same months that we do.
Yeah.
So that was just a little funny. But then I realized you have to draw that line somewhere. You can't make everything different. Then
Yeah.
age doesn't mean anything.
It's funny
just
too because
so-
I was listening to it, and Andy Serkis gives, I think, Mary or Pippin, one of the two, a Scottish accent, like a
Yeah.
deep Scottish accent. And I was like, oh, Scotland exists in Middle Earth.
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's funny.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's kind of great. I love a good Scottish accent. In that whole conversation, so when Gandalf and Frodo were talking, there was a few things that I was kind of alarmed at, but the whole conversation they had with Gollum was kind of alarming to me. In that Gollum is darker than I even imagined.
Oh,
'Cause
I know.
When he got out of the caves again, was like looking for the ring. He was like hiding in trees, like eating children. Like
Yeah.
it was so dark.
Wait, I missed that part.
Like
It said something about
Eating
him
children?
stealing babies
Yeah.
out of cribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, it did say that
I
was like a
missed that.
rumor.
yeah,
or
it
a
may have just been the
legend,
rumors
so-
for sure, but still.
But still, I was like, whoop, there's a reason they didn't show that in the movies.
that would be creepy too, living with like a creature like that you just have rumors with and legends. Like I think of I don't know if I've ever mentioned or I've talked to you guys about this, but this I probably have. But there was a guy in Maine who was the North Pond Hermit,
yeah.
they called him. I think I've mentioned this somewhere. and he was in the woods of North Maine for 21 years. Only said one word in those 21 years to one passing hiker that he just randomly stumbled across. But he wouldn't hunt. He wouldn't gather. He would steal from vacation homes. And so he was exceptional at stealing, like breaking in and stealing. And people were so unsettled by him. They couldn't find him. They didn't know where he lived. They had no idea where this guy was. And I was like, that would be creepy to live with that. But like everyone knew he was harmless, so it was okay. When you got Smeagol coming in and stealing your baby, it's like, oh, that would be terrifying.
But
he
also
was dark.
Yeah, well, I was listening to it while walking, so I'm not sure if I caught everything, but it sounded like even when he felt the sun on him, it was like too light. Yeah. Like I need to be in like caves and be like hidden because I want none of this. But then that's like so crazy to me because it's like that's like how the ring makes you feel. Like you don't want to be with other people and you want to.
It isolates you. That's a great point.
Want to run away. Yeah.
Like it makes you hate the sun.
No, but I was just like, whoa, you literally don't want like the sun. I feel like that makes you happy and it's enlightened. I don't know. Everything about it. I was just like, whoa.
Because even in the next chapter, when Sam gets in the conversation with the elves, and they have it with Frodo as well, one of the biggest advice that the elves give to Frodo is to not do it alone. And I love that. Maybe there's a point to it where like the ring seems to isolate you and like drag you away in your isolation, versus if you can do this with other people, like if you can
community,
conquer, the power of friendship. This is the power of the Fellowship of the Rings. That's why I think it's like a perfect segue into what the actual
evil wants you to be alone so it can control you.
Yeah, dude, great point.
Well, I mean, that's I think what he's getting.
yeah, but that's what you're getting at too, Jen.
Yay! I have a great point.
You're reading where I said that's what I say to Jen.
Yeah, but I read what you actually
because I underlined so many things you can't even see which one is the important one. But I always write it right next to what I underline. Such matters were best left until daylight.
I
always say that. I always say this is a daylight conversation because I just feel like certain things it's too late at night. Yeah, like look, I can't even think clearly, or nothing good happens past midnight. That's a classic one-liner. So I'm like, this is a daylight conversation.
I know, and you've already
bring this up when the sun is shining.
And then when the sun is shining, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes it a little better. You can have it in like nice weather.
I'm trying to read up on these rings.
It doesn't matter anymore what I wanted to bring up because it's
because then you just forgot it, and it's like doesn't matter that much anymore. Important. It's great.
That was funny though.
I love there was a bunch of good lines in this chapter, but like one of them I loved was I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. I'm like classic movie lines.
Oh, that was
so good. This whole chapter was packed with so many good ones. And then one of my absolute favorite. So we don't do favorite lines quite yet, but this is a foray into my favorite line. And my search would have been in vain, but for the help that I had found from a friend, Aragorn, the greatest traveler and huntsman of this age of the world.
Nice.
I was like a little name drop for Aragorn before we actually meet him. I'm like, that was so
much
cool.
earlier than
I
know. Yeah.
I love that.
He was my favorite, right? That's the sword guy.
Yeah.
Sword guy.
I love how put together it is right now. Like even
yes.
In the movies, you're like, okay, so he's a good tracker, he's a good huntsman. But Gandalf's like, no, this guy is the greatest of the age. I'm like,
and I love that they already had an adventure together.
Yeah,
you know, like they're already hunting down Gollum. I'm like, that's so cool.
Now I'm curious if they're making a new movie about the hunt for Gollum. I'm curious if this is going to be what it's about.
That didn't even occur to me. That would be awesome.
I would love that if it was
because it would be bringing back classic characters,
and the same characters are reprising their roles too. So it'd be great. So I would love if they had like a Gandalf and Aragorn adventure where they're tracking down Smeagol.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fantastic.
This is so weird because I'm like, it's like a Dumbledore Gandalf like character in my mind.
And I think we'll have to compare them at many different points. But so far, I think Gandalf is doing the same thing I didn't like about Dumbledore, leaving hobbits in the dark.
Yeah.
But I also am giving him a little bit more. I'm giving him credit, just like with Dumbledore. I'm assuming he knows much more than we do and much more than he's letting on, because it just feels like he's got this confidence where I'm just saying, all right, I trust him. He's kind of nudging in certain directions where I don't know why, but he seemed to trust that Frodo could have the ring for years and years and years and it wouldn't be dangerous. He seemed to know Frodo needs a friend for this journey. Oh, cool. Random guy, first one to find. He's the one. Like, it just feels like he's got an intuition, and it makes me think he already knows something. I don't know if we'll ever find out what, or if he just has good intuition.
That's an interesting read on Gandalf too. I pictured Gandalf as, yes, knowing like a lot of the story, but being a bit more like rugged than like almost like he doesn't know what he's getting himself into. So like he tries one way, it doesn't work, tries another way. Because
that is a very fair point.
I was curious about this, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on this line are too. But Gandalf says, I endured him as long as I could, but the truth is desperately important. And in the end, I had to be harsh. I put the fear of fire on him and wrung the true story out of him bit by bit, together with much sniveling and snarling.
Oh,
Like, did Gandalf torture Smeagol?
I mean, I like to think he threatened him, but didn't actually do it. That it was all
Psychological.
fear of torture, not actual torture. But he might have. How
Isn't
did you
there
read
a
that?
scene though with Bilbo? Isn't there like in the book where he gets in that
Yeah,
angry,
there's like a cloud that
Yeah, it
it's
was
like
like
he
dark.
casts a shadow over the whole room.
Yep.
So
So we know he's willing to flex those wizard muscles if need be.
and I keep thinking of visuals, right? So thinking of the show.
What?
Jen's just always gonna go back to the Rings
It's
of
so
Power.
bad to see it. Maybe it would have been good to read a book without any.
I just flipped to this other thing I underlined. Then you will see Gandalf the Grey uncloaked. I wrote, naked? Because I think this is actually where he kind of says that.
Yeah.
And that's when Bilbo backed away to the wall. So I assume he means something else with uncloaked, but it's like he's holding his power back, and if he ever needed to.
The cloak.
Also, what's the White Council? Intriguing.
Yeah,
Ooh.
seriously. And most
Like a
people
bunch of
online
other
too are
wise
saying
guys.
that like our designated Lord of the Rings nerds are saying that it's not really a characteristic of Gandalf. Like they could never picture him as torturing someone. So probably more like a threat. than
Okay,
anything
good,
else.
good. I do like that.
But right now I don't know that. Right now I'm like,
I
maybe
know.
he tortured him.
But he says later, like, you can't be the one to deal out judgment.
Yeah, agreed.
So that makes me
but-
think that
True.
he wouldn't.
Dumbledore kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys shouldn't put out judgment. Meanwhile, he's like extracting information from people.
Yeah.
He's like, anything for the truth. And that's what Gandalf says in this. He's like, anything for the truth. The truth is more important than his life, almost. Where he's like,
Well,
I need to
it's good
extract
and
this from
evil.
him.
I trust and I like Gandalf so much better than Dumbledore.
Wow. Okay.
But to me, Gandalf is more in the same boat as everybody compared to Dumbledore, who has like a really intense power dynamic with like being
Yeah,
in
that's a
power, but
great
then
point.
like them being kids, but then hobbits are still innocent. But I think Gandalf is more just like, hey, we need to get this done, like no matter what, and like let me help you.
That's a great point because in that
know.
story, as long as Dumbledore was alive, you didn't really fear the dark side. And when he died, that's when you're like, oh crap, this is
Yeah.
going to be rough. This seems different where it's like Gandalf already is fearing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like the dark seems a
he
lot
fights.
larger
True, that is
Yeah.
so
than
true.
what Harry
yeah.
Potter feels like.
And it feels like he's more in it.
Yeah.
Even though he does leave Frodo alone for quite a while, it still feels, he just something about it feels a little more in it, where Dumbledore felt a little more like, go do your thing. I'll talk to you at the end of the book, you know?
Yeah.
So it is different, but I'm gonna be accidentally comparing the two.
Yeah, me too, all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is a huge point too, because they do talk about like second chances in this, where he says, deserves it, I dare say he does. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life.
Oh yeah.
Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment, for even the very wise cannot see all ends. I have not much hope for Gollum, that he can be cured before he dies, but there is a chance. And he is bound up with the fate of the ring. My heart tells me that he has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before the end. And when that comes, the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many, yours not least. I like the idea of, like, you know, giving people second chances, but it doesn't seem like Gandalf really is giving him a second chance. Maybe he is. I don't know.
Too soon to tell.
Yeah, too soon to tell. Exactly.
I feel like a second chance would imply that you're changed after, though. And he doesn't really change.
Yeah, I agree.
So he just kind of persists.
I also think that, like, Gandalf, like, if he was torturing, going back to that, it was like for the greater good.
We're going to use it that year.
Greater good.
Well, if it's that serious, though, and they were hunting him down to get information, he's got to do whatever it takes to an extent, I guess.
I don't think he would, like, physically hurt him.
Well, I was also thinking, like, what are Gandalf's powers? I don't really know. But, like, could he make you think that you're being tortured and he's not doing anything, but, like, you're seeing things or feeling things, but he's not actually touching you? Is that still torture? Maybe.
Whoa.
Like,
psychologically.
Yeah. The powers seem like more untamed and raw in this so far. Like, we don't know what the ring does really yet. Like, it's just almost the same thing in Harry Potter, but maybe it's just the level of information that we have. Like, even I think that's even true in the movies too. You don't know that much what Gandalf does. He seems to have power, but it's like, okay, what is he actually doing day to day with his magic?
Fireworks.
Yeah, right. He has really good fireworks. That's like it at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
So I like that everyone seems like a bit more untamed at the moment, which I think is a good addition for these books. But yeah, Frodo is an incredible character in this. Like, I love it even at the end of the chapter when it says he went to the window and drew aside the curtains and the shutters. Sunlight streamed back into the room. Sam passed along the outside path, whistling. And now, said the wizard, turning back to Frodo, the decision lies with you, but I will always help you. He laid his hands on Frodo's shoulder. I will help you bear this burden. As long as it is yours to bear, we must do something soon. The enemy is moving. And then Frodo just jumps into action. He's like, okay, I got it. I'll take it from here. I think Frodo is incredible in these chapters so far.
I would have thrown the ring back. I don't want it.
I was wondering if Smeagol was evil already, or if it was kind of he was so instantly influenced by the ring that he was willing to murder right away. Because I was trying to contrast that to Bilbo and Frodo, how they could be near the ring, they could see the ring, hold the ring, or even use it, and still have a purity to them, even though Smeagol or Gollum seems to be corrupted almost instantly, or maybe he was already kind of evil. And then this just escalated it.
Isn't he, like, not a completely true hobbit though?
Yeah, he's like hobbit adjacent, maybe. I forget how I worded it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Does that, like, change
And a long
their
time ago.
character?
Yeah.
Because, like, that's the whole hobbit thing, is that they're so, I don't know. I think they're, like, childlike and innocent.
Yeah,
like very pure
innocent.
of heart.
Yeah, maybe 600 years ago they weren't. They were completely different breed.
But it was a different, breed.
Yeah.
What are the politically correct? How do you refer to these people?
The breed of hobbit.
Oh, and he was fishing with invisible fingers. I was like, wow, that would be so much easier to fish. Just ring on, whatever.
Seriously, yeah.
Gollum likes sushi. He ate them raw.
He does.
Ew, I just picture it.
It's gross. Just wait till the
even
third
his-
movie.
I could see that one actually.
Yeah, I don't know these.
That is so interesting the way you said how it easily. Or could it be that, like, over time it's lost its power? Gollum found it when it had just come off of the owner.
Yeah.
Or, like, not too far from then. And then if he's 500 years old, 500 years with the ring, and then Bilbo, could that be? Could that affect it?
What do you guys think that? Okay, so there was. I don't know if this is ambiguous or not. Maybe you got to help my reading of this. But did the ring choose Bilbo?
Yes, that's how I read it.
Really?
I did not think so. I
'Cause
thought it just chose to reject Gollum
Yeah.
and see what would happen.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's fair. I'm saying Bilbo was the first person to be near him.
Yeah.
And he's like, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my way out. So that's me choosing Bilbo.
Oh, okay. It could have been.
Part of me, I don't know though. I'm kind of with you, Jen. Like my reading of this was like Bilbo or Gandalf made it seem like it was so coincidental that Bilbo had walked in at the exact moment that the ring decided to abandon Gollum. Like there could be no other option. Like then the ring decided.
True,
this.
I forgot we
or
got
maybe
that
it was,
story from
or maybe it
Gandalf.
was like fate or something like that. Where the movies have this line where it says the ring abandoned Gollum, and then something happened that the ring did not intend. It fell into the hands of a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins.
It literally says that.
Yeah,
I forgot.
in the movie,
Yeah,
it has
you're
that
right.
line.
You're right.
So I'm like, they're spelling it out for you. But when I'm reading this, I'm like, it seemed like the ring chose Bilbo. So even further than that, do you think that the ring is choosing Frodo now in any way?
I don't think it's the ring. I think it's the counter of the ring. Does that even make sense?
Yeah, like the good
Yeah.
ring,
The good.
like good fate.
It also is interesting that one
Like
of the lines
interceding it.
it says the ring never abandons its keeper. A ring of power looks after itself, Frodo. It may slip off treacherously, but its keeper never abandons it. But I thought, again, speaks to the purity of hobbits because Bilbo kind of did. He willingly, he resisted, but he actually left it behind of his own volition, and that says something. That's pretty powerful. I said a complex relationship, and
Hey.
so a keeper never abandons it, but I guess it can.
Yeah,
but
that
then
does show us a serious amount of resilience. He's even had it for like, a few, probably half a decade or something like that, or half a century. And
But
he's able to abandon it on his
Well,
own.
yeah.
he did mention it in his letters. I thought that was funny. Back to Frodo.
Yeah.
Oh, how's the ring?
Yeah.
But it became such a part of him that he didn't even know that right? Isn't like the first chapter where he's trying to get like, oh, I put the ring down, but then it's actually like in his pocket.
Yeah.
So like he's not even fully like, I feel like if Gandalf wasn't there, he would have thought he like left it, but it actually was with him.
Yeah, right. I agree.
If that makes sense.
Honestly, like maybe this is, asking too much, but it would be funny or interesting at least knowing what Tolkien's opinion of Bilbo is and if Bilbo could actually do the job that Frodo is doing. Or is Frodo like the highest kind of being for this? Like Bilbo would need some, assistance, like a fellowship with him. But if Bilbo knew this was the One Ring, like Frodo knows it's the One Ring, would Bilbo want nothing to do with it, or would Bilbo be too attracted to its power? I don't think he would be, because I think he's able to resist it in some way. But I don't know.
But did Bilbo have friends?
Mm-hmm.
He did, because these are the people from his birthday party and stuff.
Yeah, it actually, I
Probably
kind of read it like
friends, but
the hobbits were not his friends. His friends are everywhere else. I feel like he had dwarf friends and Gandalf and elf friends and others around the world. But I kind of feel like he didn't consider the hobbits his friends.
Only because I'm thinking of him as like the adventurer and like going solo on trips, which I don't even know where I'm getting that from because I don't know if it actually said that. So then I was thinking the ring. That's why I said he also chose Bilbo, because he wanted to go out on adventures and maybe he'd get close. It would get closer to its owner. When you originally asked that question.
Yeah.
And like Bilbo's the best option.
Yeah, because he like travels and he goes all these places and he's not afraid. So
that's true.
That's what I also thought. And then I thought when you were just saying now, would Bilbo have been able to do it? Could he have been on him? He seems to like free spirit, and like Frodo's never left the Shire, so like he's more innocent or like more.
That's a great point.
I'm
excited to get to the Hobbit with you too, because that's when you know a little bit more about Bilbo. Like, that'll be kind of fun, I think.
But does the ring just count on its own power being able to overcome the keeper, and then it can go back to where it started?
Yeah,
or
I
is it
kind of
like,
think so.
does
That's
it
how I
have
viewed
knowledge
it.
of the character of that person? Because then I feel like it could just be anybody, and the ring is just like, oh, I'm strong enough to get back.
Yeah, right. It could overpower them.
It almost seems like I'm gonna use another nerd analogy here, like the Force. Like you can, in like the what do they say, that it has the ability to persuade a weak mind or something like that, or like when Obi-Wan, because you just saw it.
Yeah,
So
I
Obi-Wan
know
was like,
Star Wars
yeah.
references.
these aren't the droids you're
Yay,
looking
you
for.
know it.
Like it has power over the weak-minded. Whereas
Yeah.
maybe the ring is kind of the same thing. Like I don't think, weirdly, I think it's actually not the weak-minded so much as the powerful. Like
Or
those who have
prideful.
no power are able to wield authority over it, and those who have power, it's able to corrupt them so much significantly, so much more.
Yeah.
Isn't that why Gandalf didn't want
Yeah,
it?
Gandalf doesn't want to touch
Right.
it because he knows.
But that's how how do you say his name? Sauron?
Sauron.
Yeah.
Sauron. Sour.
sour on.
It was meant for him, and
Yeah.
he was supposed to be the most powerful like person to overtake everything. So it wants someone like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And
That's actually a great point. That's what the ring wants. It wants someone super powerful so that it can, like in the hands of a hobbit, it's like, okay, who's the next person that I can take, because I can't take a hobbit, to the promised land.
yeah.
I also think Gandalf's understanding of the ring, they're talking about Gollum, and he says, pity. It was pity that prevented Bilbo from killing Gollum. Pity and mercy not to strike without need. And he's been well rewarded, Frodo. Be sure that he took so little hurt from the evil and escaped in the end because he began his ownership of the ring. So, with pity. So, again, just the contrast of Gollum begins his ownership with murder. And that was why the ring had so much power over him. But then Bilbo started his ownership with pity and mercy. And I don't know what Frodo started it with, but maybe innocence.
Yeah. That's a great point.
He didn't even
What their
want
starting
it,
journey
did
is
he?
like, yeah.
Which isn't quite as pure as pity or mercy, but it's something. Or maybe it's better. I don't know.
Well, he didn't even want it, did he?
Yeah, it's like
That's best case scenario.
It's a classic trope of like the people
Well,
who should be in leadership are the ones that
Yeah,
don't
you're
want
right.
it. Like Bilbo is maybe a little different, that he actually wanted the ring. He kind of found this and was like, oh, let me pocket this bad boy. Frodo wants nothing to do with it, which I think it makes him like perfectly positioned to actually be the one that
And then that's
deals
like
with this.
Gandalf says a line of like, you were meant for it, like
Yeah.
this
Yep.
to carry
Like
this.
you were meant for the ring. Yeah.
It's like the two extremes and then the one in the middle. Like each of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And then like Smeagol gives in to the ring so instantly that I feel like once you do that, then there's like no coming back from it. And then it's kind of just like each one takes longer to give into it. Because like Bilbo's kind of like a slow like toe in the water occasionally. And then Frodo was like, I don't even want this in my house.
that's a great point, because it's not just power. It's like the X and the Y axis. It's like power. It'll corrupt you if you have power. It'll use you if you have power. And it also will use you if you're weak. So you have to not want power and be strong.
Yeah.
Which is what
Right,
Frodo
right.
comprises. I'm sure Bilbo is in that little square, but Frodo comprises that probably to the best
Yeah,
extent.
you're right.
And I feel like all of the hobbits that he's with right now, like Merry,
Sam?
Pippin, and Sam, all exemplify that to some extent. Maybe Frodo the most, but Sam pretty darn well, I feel like, could be uncorrupted by this thing. Like almost more. I like Sam's lines in the next
Yeah.
chapter and the chapter after that are astounding. Like how brave this guy is. I love him so much.
If Frodo died, I 100% think that
Yeah.
Sam could do it.
Oh,
But I don't think
easily.
Bilbo would ever destroy the ring, like in my mind.
I don't
see
think he
that
would either.
happening.
Yeah.
I think because he wore it, he had a taste of it.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Frodo never
Right.
really did.
Yeah, he had a taste of it, and he didn't exactly know what it was. He like knew it was a ring of power,
Yeah,
but
that's
didn't
true.
know fully what it was. So maybe if he knew what it was, he'd be disgusted by it. But he's just kind of like dabbling in this. He's kind of intrigued by this and likes it.
I guess that's not fair because he didn't know it was like this evil.
Yeah, but I do love. I mean, chapter 3 and 4 is essentially like them starting their journeys, and like chapter 4 is like they have the conversation with Farmer Maggot, But I love how they're actually on this journey together. Like, I don't have a ton of notes about this because this is essentially just them starting their journey. And I love the fact that they start this with other people. What do you got, Danny?
I just love how you said, I don't have a ton of notes, and I'm looking at his book and how many underlines
Just
and
tons
words.
of notes. Yeah, I'm getting distracted. Gollum in prison with the Wood Elves. Interesting.
Which is crazy.
Never knew that.
Never knew that too.
So
Wood elves?
yeah,
And they
the
treated
Wood
him
Elves
kindly.
have him in prison. They treat him with such kindness as they can find in their wise hearts.
Yeah. Which is a different characterization of elves than I thought too, and that they're like kinder.
Yeah.
Like in the movies, they're like ethereal and they're like
Yeah,
almost
like-
distant from everyone.
And that made me read some of the elf lines with a little more
Yeah.
sarcasm at first.
Yeah, seriously.
And
yeah.
then I was like, oh wait, actually I think they're being serious. I think this is genuine. I think they're laughing with Frodo when he tries to speak
Yeah,
Elvish,
seriously, yeah,
not
yeah.
at him.
Yeah.
And so at first I thought they were being like, ha ha ha, he thinks he's speaking, he doesn't know anything. But then in the end, I'm like, oh, actually I like these elves. They seem cool.
Yeah, same. They actually grew on me in the next chapter when they're actually having the conversation with the elves. Like the elf didn't look down on Frodo. The elf was like, you're in a unique position here. I'm like not gonna offer you advice. He's like even just speaking wisely. He's like, I'm not gonna offer advice, but I will if you ask for it. And then he asks for it, and then he's like, don't do this alone. I think he sees almost the potential in Frodo, which is like shocking. Because in the movies and like my perception of elves is like they're way too high and mighty. They're like, they're like, we're better than you. We're immortal. We're like the bee's knees.
Yeah, I never liked the elves in the movies.
Yeah.
And like none of them have really standout personalities either. Like
Yeah.
they all seem very superior.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the book, I think the elf personalities and like the differences between the different kinds, or I hope that that's going to come out more.
for sure.
Because, yeah, they all kind of just like blend into one, like, we're elves. Like, we're
Yeah.
better than everyone.
Yeah.
But that's what I want from the books, like more elf personality.
Yeah, more elf lore.
Yep.
Maybe it's just
Elf lore.
the wood
Yeah.
elves are kind. Maybe the other elves aren't kind. I don't know. Because I do know in the
Oh,
Hobbit,
true,
the elves
right.
from Mirkwood aren't very kind. I don't know though. We'll
Maybe
see.
they have beef. Maybe this is
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
learn
That's
about.
true. That's true.
What?
They got beef. Absolutely.
The house of Elrond half elven. What's his other half? What's the deal with Elrond? I didn't know he was half elven.
He's half elven.
I mean, that's his last name.
Oh.
So then I'm like, what's that mean?
Maybe it's like
half of
Wait,
his
elves.
that's
mom
the
and his
guy in
dad.
Rings
You
of
combine the names.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's young in Rings of Power. Yeah.
Sorry, I have to have
Young.
So
I think it was in
true.
quotes though.
Yeah, so true. I don't know how old he is. I was thinking about bringing wine because they drink wine.
Are men the only ones in this book that have like a normal lifespan? Is everyone else really?
No. All elves live. All elves are immortal. I don't know the full lore. when I was discussing some of this like a long time ago, I think I forget what I was watching, but there was a point where someone said that there's a deity in Lord of the Rings, and that deity bestowed the gift of mortality upon man, which is weird.
Whoa.
I don't know what that means at all. I'm actually kind of curious to get into that lore a little bit, but like mortality is an actual gift that men possess. And elves are immortal, but I don't know. I think all elves are. They can die in
funny.
battle,
Feels like it should
obviously,
be
but
the
like men and
opposite.
women elves are all immortal. But I don't know.
They can't. They can't die
They
in
can.
battle.
They can be killed.
So then, how is that immortal?
Well,
Like,
because
if you
you
don't-
wouldn't die naturally.
If you don't die
Well,
in battle, you can
no.
live forever.
I mean, seems like you shouldn't die at all.
Well, there may be the two types of immortality. A funny thing I saw when they were in chapter 3, a few creatures came and looked at them when their fire had died away. A fox passing through on business of its own stopped and sniffed. Hobbits, he thought. Well, what's next? I have heard of strange doings in this land, but I have seldom heard of hobbits sleeping out of doors under a tree. 3 of them. So it's like this fox having thoughts about specific things in properly formed sentences. It just made me wonder about this world, where the line is drawn between animals with sentience and not.
It's it's a great point. It seems much more fluid than anything else because they were having the debate about, what was it, the elm tree or something like that was walking.
Oh yeah.
They weren't sure if it was like they were like, then it wasn't an elm. It was or it wasn't a tree because it was like walking. It can't be walking. And they're like, no, it definitely was.
Oh,
So like you're kind of getting like
scene.
ents a little bit.
More.
I love those tree
magic
guys
foreshadowing
in the movies.
It's like my favorite part, so I'm excited to get there. Jen, I have one question for you because you don't know. You kind of have watched the movies a long time ago. Do you know who the
it's like Star Wars
the hooded horsemen are?
The dark cloaked people. No, I don't remember who they are.
It is so eerie in these, like, it's eerier, way eerier in the books too. When like you're going through this and like there's just these horsemen that are going around like Hobbiton looking for.
I know, it reminded me of the what's that Halloween?
The Headless Horseman.
Yes.
Go, Sir Nicholas.
But then you have it on the cover, and I was like, I don't remember. Like when he first started reading this, right? It's on the cover.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really remember that scene. And then when we're reading it and it came up so quickly, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot that whole first movie where they're like hiding and like running away. I don't remember who's under it at all. I think they're bad though, right? It seems like it. I don't even
definitely
remember.
seem bad because the whole conversation
like,
that
are they
get in
elves though? No, I don't think so.
I love Farmer Maggots standing up to these guys. Like hobbits have moxie. Like
like what?
Yeah, because Farmer Maggot is a hobbit or of some sort. No,
right.
He's a hobbit of some sort. So they say hobbits. Hobbits are shorter than I even imagine them because I think they say they're 2 feet to 3 feet. Most of them are around 2 feet. Maybe I misread that or something like that. They're short. Yeah. I'm like, imagine this little hobbit sticking up to this guy and a full-grown horse and a full man sticking up to this guy. I'm like,
those dogs are not even that big.
Yeah, exactly.
Chihuahuas.
Yeah, right. Little chihuahuas running after him. It's such a funny point. Like, I don't know. I just think that's so fascinating that this guy, he's a farmer and he's like, this horseman comes and he's like, I need to find Bilbo Baggins. I need to find Frodo, and I need to go along on this road. And the farmer Maggot's like, nope, go back the way you came.
Yeah, he's
sucker.
like, don't come back on my yard.
What are you saying?
Don't come on my property.
It's the hooded guy.
The hooded guy.
Oh, I just don't know if he's good or bad. So yeah, that's funny. Great. Now I'm in the outs. Everyone else knows what's going on.
Only for like a chapter though.
But it's good insight because you're gonna learn things quick, and then we get to see what it's like to be a first-time fellowshipper.
Oh my goodness.
In
I know
chapter
how it
3,
ends.
I did think there was that song they were all singing together, like that Hobbit song. And I thought that last paragraph of that song was really interesting. Kind of it felt like that was Pippin's song that he sang to Denethor in the movie.
It was,
Why should your songs not be fit for my halls?
Yeah.
It's like not quite, but it's close.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was pulled from that. So it was cool to get that so early on, representing innocence in the Shire and all that.
Yeah, some of the songs, Andy Serkis didn't do that according to Mary, the way how Billy Boyd sang it, and I was a bit bummed because he did it in like some other dumb way. I was like, you have the opportunity. It's like my favorite song in the whole thing. Just like, sing it as how Billy Boyd sang it. It was perfect. But yeah, again, I was saying this before, but I feel like these first, especially 3 chapters, lay like the rest of the found work for some of the books. Like they pick out so much from the movies. Like there's the songs that they have in all these. They have so many different quotes that they just kind of piece throughout these books. I'm curious if it's going to be this much. There's going to be this many like good quotes in the rest of the series, or if they just like Tolkien was just like packed a bunch in the beginning, and you kind of just hand choose or hand pick them from there.
Yeah, all these elf things I keep writing, like I can't tell if they're being mean or not. The one line is blatantly kind of mean, unless he was joking. He did laugh. We have no need of other company, and hobbits are so dull. I was like, oh, that's not the nicest.
I love that too. There's like hobbit rivalries. Like the guy from Farmer Maggot didn't really like the Hobbiton variety of hobbit.
Yep.
Like there's little neighborhoods and factions.
Variety of hobbits.
Yeah, I don't know what to call them. Neighborhood. We'll just say neighborhood.
All right, made it to chapter 4.
Yeah. There's not a ton else in chapter 4. I love chapter 4 is called A Shortcut to Mushrooms. They just have the discussion essentially with Farmer Maggot. But
and it ends at the ferry.
Yeah.
When Mary joins them. Okay.
I truly, the only thing that I really cared about in this chapter was Sam's dialogue at the end. Like the Farmer Maggot was interesting because you actually got to meet him. He's actually a kind of cool dude. I kind of liked meeting him, but he doesn't seem like a neutral character, but he was like he just displayed some information. Like all we got from Farmer Maggot, essentially he's like a storyteller. He's like winding it up. He's like, oh, you don't know what these horsemen are. Let me tell you, these horsemen came looking for, and he like pauses it. He's like, for you. I'm like, all right, dude, stop being so dramatic. And then Frodo's like, no, okay, we have to leave now. And then Farmer Maggot's like, no, you're just gonna stay for dinner. And then he's like, no, we can't. And he's like, fine, yeah, I'm gonna take you, in my little carriage. So I really like this guy. I feel like he's like helping him out, but he's a little annoying to me. But I love Sam's dialogue at the end. That's like my favorite part of these chapters, how loyal he is and how like brave he is and how like he's not leaving. And I just could not get enough.
The elves said, don't you leave him. And he said, I never mean to. Yeah. I'm going with him. If he climbs to the moon, and if any of those Black Riders try to stop him, they'll have Sam Gamgee to reckon with.
Yeah, it's so good.
And I love that because it speaks to Sam's character. And the way the elves so specifically said, don't leave him.
Yeah.
It felt like they knew more. And I liked it. It felt like they're centaurs. They're looking into the future a little bit.
Seriously, yeah.
They're just like, there's something more here. They're saying, Sam, you're important to this quest.
Yeah.
You can't leave him.
And there's a point too that the movies and even Circus's interpretation of some of this makes it so serious. But I even like that the last thing that it says after it is they laughed. Like these characters to me seem so normal. Like Sam is saying this not out of like he is saying this out of bravery because he is a brave person, but he's saying this almost to make the other guys laugh. Like he's like, oh, if these people come, they're gonna have me to reckon with. And like everyone else in the company just starts kind of cracking up because they're like, yeah, what are we gonna do? But they're still super brave and they're still super loyal nonetheless. Like it really is showing the actual character of Sam. So I think it's great writing. I think he's a good storyteller so far. I think it's pretty. I'm pretty into it. It's not like paced like I love the Harry Potter story so much because it's like paced a little bit better. I think like this, it's a bit more meandering, which I don't mind. I kind of like that at the moment where you're kind of getting to know other characters that you don't know. But yeah, I love the book characters. Already the book hobbits more than I like the movies, and the movies did great with these characters, so I'm into it.
I like that when they were trying to cut through this actual shortcut, Pippin was saying one thing, Frodo was saying another. They were kind of saying, oh, I think we're too far off, and Frodo said, no, we don't want to zigzag, let's keep going. I kind of liked that Frodo was wrong. In the end, Pippin was right. They were going too far off track. Just showing that he is not perfect. He is fallible. And then maybe he can trust his friends a little more. And then I realized also, if they've never left the Shire, navigating would be difficult.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Like you can only get so experienced navigating
seriously,
if you've barely left your home.
Yep. Which is why I'm sure they'll probably meet him soon, which is why I love that they meet Aragorn and like they become all they have to do is just trust in this guy. He's like the greatest tracker of the age, you know. What else do you guys have? Anything else before we wrap it up?
I was skeptical of Farmer Maggot. I didn't know what he was going to do. To the very end, I was like, is he leading them to some kind of trap? And then I was glad he didn't. And then I was like, oh, he is nice. I like this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that I was
genuinely nice guy.
I was a little suspicious of him, a little skeptical of him at first. But I'm glad that they kind of went ahead and he was actually good.
14 sat down to eat at Farmer Maggot's. I said, good thing it wasn't 13.
Oh, gosh. How do you keep track of all this stuff? Because you take notes.
Well, of course.
We have to figure out what are we gonna call. Obviously a hot tamale in this chapter. We have to do a hot tamale. We have to do rather than a house cut, we can award the ring. I don't know if that's
the
a
ring.
good thing.
Like, that's bad.
Can make it the ring of something else.
Yeah.
The ring of whatever.
The ring of good fortune. I don't know. The ring of. I don't know. We got to figure out what we call it. We'll call it the ring of power for now.
Yeah.
Until we come up with a better term for it. And then favorite moment. We can call that one just the favorite moment. Yeah. It's easy. So what are your guys in these chapters? Unless you had anything else that you want to discuss before.
Beer. Nice.
I like that they were on their way to the what was it, the brewery or whatever? Not the brewery.
Right.
The ale house. I don't forget what it was called. And then Farmer Maggot's like, "No, I'll give you beer. Don't worry." And then they were like, "Okay, now
You're like, all right.
we can relax a little bit." I think my favorite character in this is definitely Frodo at the moment. I think Sam is hot tamale energy. I think Sam's kind of like keeping everything
nice.
like light and easy. But Frodo, I think, truly is my favorite character. He's I don't want to say like less weak because he's not movies, but a little bit. He's just brave and will do what he needs to do in order to keep people that he loves alive. And I think that's a great quality of that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm a Frodo fan with Sam being a hot tamale.
Great choices.
I'm going to say Frodo's my favorite, and then Maggot is the hot tamale.
Ooh, Maggot.
I like
Maggot,
the way
that's
that he
definitely good.
controls the situation.
Yeah. Ooh, someone says the basket of mushrooms. We could award the basket of mushrooms to someone. That's so good. Thank you, Valathor. That is a perfect. You sound like a Lord of the Rings character too.
I was just gonna say you got a character in chat. It's great.
The basket of mushrooms. It's a great one.
Wait, as your favorite character?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the basket of mushrooms goes to.
You can go to the Sackville Baggins. Obviously, I gotta stop talking. Go ahead.
All right, Frodo. Why? Because I don't know anything. Frodo, I feel like does deserve it. I kind of like Gandalf too because he was getting information.
Yeah.
Even though it was annoying. The timeline that he would come back to give him the information. Hot tamale. Gollum.
Wow, this is
hot tamale indeed.
Kind of gives a little bit of hot tamale energy, to be honest. He goes after what he wants.
Too hot.
Yeah,
He's like
boiling tamale.
Yeah, he's a no. Yeah, I'll just pick someone different because I had the same ones as John.
Yeah, well, they're
I
pretty
could
great.
give Bilbo the hot tamale too for the sole reason of his gift of the spoons to the Sackville or
that was real good
Bagginses,
hot tamale.
where like
energy.
he leaves and he realizes the Sackville Bagginses are stealing his spoons, and then when he comes back he realizes that. So his inheritance gift or his birthday gift to them is the rest of the spoon case.
Oh,
And then
I
what was her
missed that.
name? Thelia.
Sounds right.
The lady Sackville Baggins realized it was like, oh, he knows. I'm like, that is a great move. It's so petty. I love that.
I think I'll do basket of mushrooms. Got to go Frodo. Just like Harry Potter, I felt like the books is better than movies. You know? But you get so much more of the character that I feel like when building a world, you trust you'll learn about the main character eventually. So they kind of leave them bland a little bit. So getting to actually understand his mindset, I view him so much more highly already that's been great. And then hot tamale, I do like Bilbo for that scene. That's a good one. Yeah. And if it wasn't him, it would have been Gildor, because that was my favorite moment, talking to the elves.
That was a cool moment, yeah.
Seeing Frodo out there speaking Elvish, kind of talking to foreigners, which wouldn't have been that common. I felt like he was leading the crew.
It's like their first adventure, kind of.
Yeah, real adventure. And fulfilling Sam's dreams here, you know? I thought that was
He was
fun.
like giddy. I loved how giddy he was. It was great.
I like they described him as like a puppy. He was just so eager all the time. It's great.
Yeah, that was a great moment. I think my favorite moment was prior to the conversation that Frodo and Gandalf were having. I felt like I was hooked when I was reading that. It was great. He's good at writing dialogue, I think, in this.
Yeah.
You guys have a favorite moment, or you want to pass?
I like the party. Like that.
Yeah,
really fun
honestly,
to me.
it was a great party.
And his speech at the end, and then just goodbye.
Yeah,
I
know.
really like.
I like that the hobbits didn't want a long speech either.
Yeah.
Like Bilbo was going on, and they're like, "Oh, great!" And then then he was like, "And my third and final point," and all of them were like, "Finally, okay, excited." It was a good party.
Yeah, it was. It was good. I did go to the Shire when I was in New Zealand, so I kept thinking back to it. Magical place,
right?
You know, truly magical. But I'm like, I want to have a Hobbit party. You know, just hanging out.
We'll do that.
Food with a tent outdoors.
After we finish these, we'll have a Hobbit party.
Yeah, nice.
In the summer, somewhere in the grass.
We got to create a Shire somewhere. It'll be perfect.
You got to put a tent around a tree.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's great. So good.
Oh boy, you guys.
Well, thanks for joining us on our journey of the Fellowship of the First Time Readers.
That was good. I did look on Duolingo. Elvish isn't there.
Elvish isn't
It's
there?
not a complete language. I must have been making that up because
I could have sworn it was
the
there
one
too.
from Game of Thrones is there, and the
Interesting.
one from Star Trek is there. There might have been one other fantasy language, but Elvish is not a complete language. You can't speak it fluently.
write it?
You couldn't have a conversation with someone in Elvish.
Really?
There's not enough of it. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating.
We just haven't found the Rosetta Stone of Elvish yet.
Yeah, exactly. Just have missing pieces.